Good morning, members of Parliament, support staff, those in the public tribune, radio listeners, TV viewers, those following via social media, and members of the media. Welcome to the continuation of the Central Committee meeting number 7 for today, Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. I would like to give a special welcome to the Minister of Finance, Mr. Ardwell Irion, and his support staff. We have established a quorum of 10 members. Please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have received notice of absence from the following member, MP William Marlin. Are there any notifications? No. We have as agenda point for this meeting, Draft National Ordinance amending the National Ordinance Budget 2023, National Ordinance Budget Amendment 2023, Parliamentary Year 2023-24-173 under document IS/228/2023-2024 dated November 21st, 2023. We go over to the agenda point. Parliament received the draft National Ordinance Budget Amendment 2023 on November 21st, 2023 under document IS/228/2022-23 dated 21st November 2023. This Central Committee meeting commenced on Monday, December 4, 2023, in which the Minister of Finance gave a presentation on the draft National Ordinance Budget Amendment 2023. Members of the Parliament were then given the opportunity to pose questions to the Minister. The meeting was then adjourned and continued at 3 p.m., in which the Minister of Finance answered the questions on behalf of the government. The members of Parliament were then given the opportunity to pose additional questions. The meeting was then adjourned until today, Tuesday, December 5th, 2023, at 10 hours. Today, the meeting will continue with the answering of the questions posed by the members of Parliament. All members have received a copy of the draft National Ordinance, and it can be found on the Parliament General Team. At this time, I give the floor to the Minister of Finance, Mr. Irion, to answer the questions posed by the members of Parliament. Mr. Irion. Mr. Irion, you have the floor.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to you, Kafir. Good morning to the members of Parliament. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to first start off saying my apologies for this morning. We were still waiting on some answers, and I also had to deal with a personal issue. In addition to that, Mr. Chairman, the questions by MP Christophe Emmanuel regarding GB mentioned that they're still busy finalizing the answers. They're aiming for tomorrow morning. Is it also possible then to send those in writing since they're not directly related to the budget? Is a question to the MP. Through you, Mr. Chairman.
MP Emmanuel, is that okay? No problem. Yes.
In addition, the Ministry of Justice is still busy finalizing their answers, so I will answer all the other ministries in the meantime. And as we get them, they'll plug them into the shared document. I'll first like to start with MP Sarah Scott Williams. MP asked a question regarding the legislation for taxes, etc., the reparation, and that answer is the report is not public. It's not a public document, but it can be shared with Parliament. So if the MP would like to have the document shared, the Ministry of TIAT has mentioned that they are willing to share that document. Regarding the marketplace, am I to understand the $776,000 in the budget plus the $300,000 for our Caribbean group? This is correct. The amount budgeted plus the $350 from Royal Caribbean will cover the cost of this project. As it pertains to the question of who won the bid, given that formal approval process has not been completed, that advice is still making its round. We prefer not to divulge that information until the formal approval process has been finalized. The next question was regarding the tourist office and the $27,000 per month. Are these including the improvements? Yes, the improvements are also included in the $27,000 a month. And now move on to the questions by MP Bryson. For finance, in regarding Revolut, thank you for the information, MP. We will further look into this. Regarding the tourist levy, which was taken by VSA, which should go through consultation by the CERD. Is the CERD right now functioning? The CERD currently lacks a board. However, the government is in the final stages for the board to be established. MP Melissa Gomes. The amount listed in Margarita Grocery pertains to a wholesaler and a retailer. The second one. The IMF report 2023, economic recovery recommendations, structural reforms, permit licenses, permits taking long. Can you provide an update on the IMF recommendations? With reference to the turnaround time of business license processing, this has been decreased about 6 months to 2 to 6 weeks, about 1.5 months, with exceptions where it may take longer if documents are missing. However, have expired, or additional information is required from the applicant. The quicker turnaround time is a direct result of having simplified the work process where this was possible and on-the-job training of staff as needed. The difference between the 2 and 6 week processing time is related to whether a business license was requested online or not. Online requests generally have a quicker turnaround time than requests that are submitted with a hard copy documents. MP Sarah Westcott Williams. Some amendments that were not explained. General affairs 1.7 million guilders resembled. What is this project? MP, this project relates to single-use plastic. Single-use plastic and styrofoam are used widely throughout St. Martin, primarily due to limited understanding of the full impact of these materials and an inadequate regulatory framework. This project intends to address the management of these materials, contribute to the protection and preservation of marine biodiversity. Activities to achieve this objective include a conducting and assessment of local drivers and impact of single-use plastic and styrofoam. Drafting a comprehensive regulatory framework, providing training to enforcement personnel, and conducting a targeted public awareness campaign. This project will be concluded through an enabling partnership with the SMDF. In addition, an early warning system. Communication and hazard warning dissemination face challenges on St. Martin due to low institutional capacities, diverse society, hilly terrain, outdated or damaged technology and equipment, and legislation requiring the updating. Building the foundations and capacities for a comprehensive early warning system and enhancing warning dissemination were identified as strategic life safety priorities. Next would be the Office of Disaster Management. St. Martin is vulnerable to the effects of a wide range of natural and human-induced disasters. As an extremely vulnerable small island development state, St. Martin continues to struggle with the anchoring of resilience. There is an established Office of Disaster Management through legislation. However, further details as to the tasks, roles, and responsibilities and mandate have not been developed and declared. This project will support the development and operationalization of a comprehensive disaster management-based ODM through the development of a framework and a roadmap for its establishment. This also pertains to projects that are being funded by Resembled. The projects are early warning system, operational office disaster management, single-use plastic, and the Corona. The next question by MP. The matter under general affairs ratification, the 750,000 guilders. What is this, COLA, or is it something else? The answer, there's no amendment of the 750,000 guilders in the Ministry of General Affairs. The only amendment of the 750 is the Ministry of Justice in the retroactive allocating. The 1.6 million guilders, please explain, by MP Sarah Scott Williams. De SBIR is Stichting Beheer ICT Rechtshandhaving. All Caribbean countries within the Dutch Kingdom make use, as much as possible, of similar applications within the law enforcement chain. This enables integrated collaboration among various agencies within the justice chain. Such close collaboration promotes a comprehensive approach to crime and an intensive cooperation in the field of law enforcement between the various countries. St. Martin has been collaborating with the SBR since 2017, and the compensation arising from the collaboration has been handled with funds from ORVG. However, moving forward, St. Martin will have to take care of the contribution. MP asks the next question, whether this amendment budget was sent to CFT. If not, why not? The process of the amendment started based on Article 12, advice from the CFT. After we received this advice, a memo was sent to the CFT to explain how we would address the issues as mentioned in Article 12 advice. CFT agreed with the explanations as mentioned in the memo. At the time, it was also discussed and agreed upon with the CFT that we would not send the amendment for advice based on Article 11 of the RFT. However, several aspects of the amendment have been discussed with CFT Secretariat separately to get their input. Next question by the MP. Our room tax has increased by 4 million guilders. Can the minister provide the amounts? The total amount collected up to November 2023 in room tax revenues is 8,909,000 guilders. Revenue casinos increase of 2 million guilders. That's a question by MP. What is this? The answer has been no increase in casino controllers, nor are there more casinos. The cap on the number of standalone casinos stands at 10, has not changed. And hotel casinos have also not increased. The concession to GB, 6.4 million guilders, Harbor 4 million, 1.5 BTP projected. Again, we are in December. What mentioned is already received was a question by the MP. So far, we received 1 million guilders from BTP. This relates to Q1 up until Q3. 3.7 million guilders from the harbor. This relates from January up until November. GB, the concessions fee is offset against the total cost that needs to be paid to GB, which is about 3.9 million guilders. As concessions is accounted on an accrual basis, the amount in the budget is not the amount you expect to collect for the year, but the amount you should receive that relates to that year. Next question, 2024, the harbor could potentially be dividend paying. What makes it put the dividend? The answer, this was mentioned by the harbor in discussions with what we had with them. Next question, the government is supposed to provide overview of subsidies to any entities or persons. However, that list does not correspond with the numbers in the budget. Answer, the structural subsidies related to the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports are the correct listing as provided in the budget 2023. We will review this overview for the remainder of the subsidies. Next question was related to USM. The Minister of Education responded to the budget of USM that they receive. Could USM not be granted more revenue now? The structural finance of higher education is calculated based on the higher education funding model. For the year 2022 to 2023 academic year, USM is entitled to 1.89 million guilders. The ministry has not yet received a subsidy request from the USM for the year 2023-2024 academic year. Now I'll move on to the questions not related to GB by MP Christophe Emmanuel. The tourist office, the unveiling and the logo, did this result from a tourism master plan? MP Christophe Emmanuel, no, it did not. The tourism master plan needs updating. The logo is created following research on the behavior, needs, and wants of recent travelers, as well as on what type of branding would entice travelers to choose to visit our destination. What is the long-term or short-term vision? Short-term, execute marketing and sales activities in order to assure year-round tourism arrivals through establishing a strong online presence with the destination website and social media pages. Promote local attractions with engaging content, showcase local events and businesses, host festivals to celebrate our destination, create a monthly calendar, develop a new tourism master plan for the years 2025-2030, seek approval from the Council of Ministers for the setup of the Tourism Authority. In the midterm, increase tourism arrivals and tourism receipts to 2016 levels, with stay-over arrivals reaching over 530,000 arrivals. Provide and facilitate training to tourism industry professionals to enhance quality service. Increase the group travel by bringing in incentives for groups and conferences to the destination. Develop niche markets such as weddings and honeymoons, cultural and heritage tourism, and nature tourism. In the long term, MP, develop a destination that is globally competitive, environmentally sustainable, that promotes inclusive growth through job creation, increase consumers' buying power, and provide a better quality of life. Next question by the MP. What is the carrying capacity in regard to the number of visitors? The last carrying capacity study was conducted in 2002, and to date, St. Martin has not reached its full potential. 2016 was a high still over arrival recorded at 530,000 visitors, and we're aiming to get back to those numbers as well as eliminate the seasonal tourism. What happened to the Tourism Authority? The vision is still to have a tourism authority, and advice was submitted beginning of 2024 to the COM for approval to continue the process. How many people work at the tourist office, the tourism bureau, and what are their functions? STB has a total of 17 employees, namely the director of tourism, secretary, section head marketing, 3 marketing officers, 1 promotional officer, 1 section head product development, 1 product development assistant, 1 visitor relation, 1 administrative assistant, and 6 information officers. Positions to be filled very soon will be the market research, product development assistant, and 2 information officers. The following question was, how much is it being spent on tourism marketing? 3.1 million guilders. Who developed the logo and when? The logo was developed by the current digital marketing and branding agency contracted by the STB, named Big Idea. The creation of the process of the logo started in 2021 with research and focus groups locally and internationally. Which stakeholders were involved in the process? The following stakeholders were consulted: STB, employees, the culture department, the French tourist office, St. Martin Airport, the port, hoteliers, activity providers, restaurateurs, real estate agencies, SSTA, SMMTA, the Small Property Association, including research on the island through other community. What is the cost of the logo, and does it represent both sides of the island? There's no separate cost to the logo. The agency is paid for several services, including designing of various digital marketing activities and branding, research, and design for the Tourism Bureau, which is paid on a monthly basis. The logo is specifically designed for the STB and represents the Dutch side. The tourism office on the French side already has a logo that they use for their promotional activities. If not, the following question, if not, why does it include the airport on the northern side of the island? This is a design choice. The airport position was better suited at the top to keep the shape of the island intact. This is not intended to be an actual representation of the geographical position of the airport. What percent of the overall budget is allocated to tourism sector? 1%. What are the key priorities of the allocation of the tourism sector? Destination marketing and sales in the US, Canada, the Netherlands, Germany, the UK, and the Caribbean region. Firms for all these regions have been contracted for the next 3 years. Airlift, market our orange economy, and continue to develop the cruise and yachting sector. How has the past allocation of the budget impacted tourism growth? Tourism growth, infrastructure, and visitor numbers in 2020 versus 2023. Are there specific success stories or areas with more attention? No, there are no success stories. The numbers of arrivals and hotel occupancy indicate a decline in arrivals, especially in the summer season. 2023 over 2022, also less flights available. What provisions are being made to improve tourism infrastructure, such as transportation, network, accommodation, and the tourist facilities? MP, the ministry asked for clarity on this question, so maybe in the clarifications, if you could clarify that question. Is there a specific allocation aimed at preserving natural resources, heritage, or promoting sustainable tourism practices? Currently, no, because there needs to be more allocation budgeted. Are there any incentives, initiatives to encourage private sector involvement in tourism development? And the one mentioned was the tax holiday legislation. Next question, what measures are in place to leverage tourism for job creation, economic growth in the local communities? The investment and diversification policy refers to specific areas within tourism market, the niche market. And those that complement the industry to allow for economic development and growth in said sectors. Through various consultations and economic impact studies, we can stimulate investments, which in turn leads to job creation in said sectors. Next question, how is the budget addressing potential risks of tourism sectors? With limited budget, it is very challenging to build in any risk factors and strategies in order to tackle these potential threats. What mechanisms are in place to ensure the effectiveness of the budget allocation? Based on the budget training policy and training, all the ministries are planned to better allocate their budgets. Is tourism a member of is the Tourist Bureau a member of the WTO? St. Martin is no longer part of the Caribbean Tourism Organization. What are the membership fees and what are the fees outstanding? In 2019, it was decided to leave the membership as this was not benefiting the destination. The funds can be used in other areas more effectively. These are dues that are outstanding from back to 2016, 2018, and 2019. Were waived completely for a total of $313,000 outstanding. And there has been an agreement to be paid in installments. I'll now move on to the following questions. And I'll also go back over some of the other MPs because now we have the answers from the Ministry of Rummy. I'll continue again with MP Sarah Prescott Williams. The MP asked, the minister has given some indication as to the intentions, but there is no plan on paper for the road project. The road plan, the CAPEX funds will be focusing on, has been sent once again to Parliament. I believe it has been sent already. Mr. Chairman, the subsidy for the St. Martin Housing Foundation, which is 728,000 guilders. Who are we helping? How many subsidies? The money has been budgeted for rental assistance in anticipation for the performance agreement between the Housing Foundation and the Ministry of Rummy under the housing project. The rental assistance is for the most vulnerable groups who are in need to meet their gaps on paying rent. This increased rental assistance disbursed to the SMDF for the applicable tenants' rent will help ensure the SMHDF can meet their financial and operational obligations in managing the public housing unit under their purview. As part of the new procedures agreed to in the upcoming performance agreement, every year by the end of March, the Housing Foundation is required to submit a substantiated request for rental assistance to the government of St. Martin and the Ministry of Rummy. Mr. Chairman, can I get 2 minutes, please? Yeah.
The minister is requesting to adjourn the meeting for 2 minutes. Meeting adjourned.
Good morning once again, members of Parliament. We took a brief adjournment to allow the minister some time, and he will now continue with the answering of the questions in this Central Committee meeting. Minister, you have the floor.
Okay. Next question by MP Melissa Gomes. What is being done with the recommendations by the Ministry of Rummy and the Ministry of Finance? There are a few actions currently being executed by the ministry in regard. The ministry is currently also drafting a plan to establish a tipping fee in the context of waste management through the ministerial regulation. This initiative will assist in covering and recovering the financials associated with waste disposal and management thereof. Also, a small work group for the purpose of generating income opportunities is in place to review and amend the Landsverordening. This will not only increase and generate revenue for the ministry, but also contribute to improvements of these services. The ministry is focused on streamlining our processes department-wide. This will not only improve efficiency and increase productivity of the processing requests, but also assist in better resource allocation, whereby minimizing backlog. In regard to climate risks and policies, the new building code is scheduled to roll out in the first quarter of 2024. This has the potential to save lives and protect property by making our buildings much safer. Prioritizing life safety, it also reduces the financial burden on the homeowners and the government in the aftermath of natural disasters, significantly lowering the cost of reconstruction, and enhances the structural safety during hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, and storms. The ministry is currently seeking technical assistance for a resilience planning consultant through the project Corena. The project is focused on advancing progress towards sustainable and resilient areas based on spatial management of the marine and coastal environment. Justice, Mr. Chairman, that are all the answers we have for now, and we await the answers from Justice.
Thank you, Minister of Finance. Members, you will note that there are still some questions from the Ministry of Justice that are to be answered. I see there are some additional questions from the floor, but I guess those would not require first getting the answers from Justice. No? So then we will proceed with the speakers, and next we have MP Westcott Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and a good morning. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to all persons tuned in to this meeting and eagerly awaiting several of the questions or the answers to questions posed, such as the matters regarding GEBE and, of course, the payment to justice workers, which we know will come later, at least the ones for justice workers. So a good morning to the Minister of Finance and his support staff. Welcome to Parliament. Mr. Chairman, there are some reports that I asked for, and some of them the Minister indicated can be shared, and others he has not responded to. So let me repeat those. The report made by BTP on the basis of the Memorandum of Understanding signed with BTP regarding GEBE. I understood from the Minister that the responsible Minister of TIAT pulled back up that report and by BTP, and that it is being currently reviewed or studied. And my question is, can this report by BTP, which seemed to be of a period past, if that can be shared with Parliament? So I would like to have that report, if possible, please. The matter of the indexation of the AOV pension. Spoke about it yesterday. The Minister indicated that the indexation, so the retroactive, the back pay, what people better understand of the pension indexation from January up until now, I'm understanding that the retroactive will be added to the pension in the month of December. The Minister indicated, which is a fact, it is paid in advance, so late December, the pension indexation, so the back pay will be paid out as well. If I can get that confirmed, because the 13th month that pensioners receive has been paid in November. So now I'm asking the retroactive, will that be paid along with the pension amount in the month of December? If I can get that confirmed or corrected. The Minister, with respect to the road plan, indicated that the CAPEX budget for roads has been shared with Parliament and it will be shared again. However, my question regarding this plan has to do with the fact that the Minister of Romy, when asked to share the road network plan, the general road network plan, indicated that this plan is being updated. That's now several months ago, and thus my question, do we have a updated general road network plan? I had also asked if the contract for the tourist office can be provided to Parliament. So that's another document I asked for. With respect to the 750,000 guilders under the Ministry of General Affairs, that is for gratification and incremental increases, et cetera, my question was, is that for only that? Or is account taken? I know the 750,000 was there, but is that only for gratificaties and emolumenten and whatever else is under that item? Or is any consideration been given to a possible payout of cost of living adjustment? The matter of the St. Martin Housing Development Foundation and the subsidy that they receive, what is in the budget right now, is that what the St. Martin Housing Development Foundation has requested in order to subsidize the rent of those who come into consideration for subsidized rent? So is that what they have requested, or have they requested more, but this is only what the government could put towards that item at this time? Since nothing has changed with respect to casinos, etc., then how come the amount to be received from casinos has been increased? Is there because they're outstandings and the government expect to collect these? What is the current amount received that the government, again, in this amended budget, has increased the amount that they projected earlier? So that increase is then based on what? The minister indicated that the reparation legislation, so the legislation that is eventually to come to Parliament with respect to the persons presently not having medical coverage. And my question was, while I know the proposed legislation is in process, what is the aim? What does it entail? So concretely, with this reparation legislation, is it that those groups that I continue to mention will be covered once this reparation legislation is passed? Again, let me repeat for posterity: the vendors, taxi and bus drivers, and the sole proprietors. So is that what it entails? Just give me what is government's plan with the legislation. I want to know what's in the legislation that is supposed to be on its way eventually to Parliament. And then, Mr. Chairman, the matter of the population census that has taken place, and we see where the Stat Department of Government has had informative sessions and produced some results. While the total results of the population census might not yet be available, can at least the information that was provided publicly be shared with Parliament? So some of the outcomes, the numbers, etc., of the population census, could those be shared with Parliament? Mr. Chairman, a lot has been said about tourism, our new logo, etc., a new building, a new home for the tourist office. Mr. Chairman, what can an update be provided on the cooperation between French and Dutch St. Martin where promotion of the island is concerned? I see where oftentimes lately we are doing our thing where promotion is concerned, and the French side doing the same thing. So what is the cooperation right now with where the promotion of the island is concerned? And then, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to make a remark actually at notifications, but I overlooked it, and so I want to make it now. I took note in a very small article that the government is considering observers for the election in January 2024. Now, there might not be anything inherently wrong with this. Apparently, the government has already identified who they're going to ask. But my question in this context is, does not the government consider it proper, if this is going to be done in an election for Parliament of St. Martin, to at least inform the Parliament? We have to read it as a sort of a side note in the local media. And so I just throwing that out there, and I guess it will be picked up, and a minister might just answer, and the people will get an answer to that question. Mr. Chairman, I think I want to leave it here for now as I await the answers from the Minister of Justice. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Westcott Williams. Next, we have MP Christophe Emmanuel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and good morning to you, our Khafir, my honorable colleagues, the honorable minister, and his support staff, and everyone who's watching today. Mr. Chairman, seeing that GEBE is still taking time to gather the answers, I have decided that I should probably add some more so they can get those answers as well, to seeing that they are trying their utmost best. Mr. Chairman, I want to set the record straight because when I put out the article in response, GB responded by saying that the information was misleading. And I knew that someday I would have the opportunity on the floor of Parliament to ask the questions, and they will have to come and provide the answers. Mr. Chairman, following up with this article regarding to NVGEBE and the employees, when it comes to their performance appraisal system, the PASS, Mr. Chairman, which was last applied in 2021, as mentioned in the article, that these employees not receiving their PASS since 2021 was in violation with the signed agreement NVGEBE has with the union SMCU, St. Martin Communication Union. Mr. Chairman, I've also taken note conveniently at this time during the election, government and management of GEBE made an agreement with SMCU that the performance evaluation that was stripped from the employees in 2022, which required a 2.5% salary increase that should have been paid in January of 2023, all of a sudden would now be paid in January 2024. So GEBE will apply a 4% increase to the employee's salary coming January 2024. Mr. Speaker, government and NVGEBE management also agreed with the union that the additional 1.5% pass to be delayed to January 2025, which will be paid together with the past result of 2024 in January 2025 to NVGEBE employees. Now, first and foremost, Mr. Chair, I fully agree with that all the adjustments are well-deserved and long overdue for NVGEBE employees. However, I am questioning the motive and the timing of these promises made and the agreement, Mr. Chairman. And because of that, Mr. Chairman, these questions will follow. Thank God we have made it safely through the hurricane season that is now over. However, is it true that during the hurricane season that NVGEBE did not and still don't have required minimum 35 million guilders in their bank account that would have been needed to carry this country in the event we had encountered a critical weather situation? Why is the Minister of Rumi, Duran, and the NA government still championing the signed agreement as a salary increase for the employees when it is not? And let me explain, Mr. Chairman. Are we aware that this is not a salary increase, but a reinstatement of the employees' benefit that the government of St. Martin stripped them of during the 12.5% cut? Mr. Chairman, and I want to repeat that. Are you aware that this is not a salary increase, but a reinstatement of the employees' benefit that the government of St. Martin stripped them of during the 12.5% cut? Just so you know that I have the documents to prove what I'm saying is the truth. Mr. Chairman, but I'm allowing this government to tell the employees the truth despite I am sure they are aware of it. Mr. Chairman, I took note that the Minister of Revenue also stated that this was long overdue as the negotiation started in 2016. Please explain in depth what negotiations started in 2016 and what increase to the salary that the GEB employees is finally receiving. Is this an increase besides the past performance appraisal system, or is it the COLA, Mr. Chairman? Now, with regards to the COLA, which I call the real salary increase, through you, Mr. Chairman, COLA is a cost of living adjustment that applies to all NVGEBE employees, which is a formula that is used once the cost of living reach a certain percentage according to the Central Bureau of Statistics. Mr. Chairman, upon reaching that percentage, all employees is entitled to a predetermined percentage salary increase. Now, through you, Mr. Chairman, this is where it gets interesting. NVGB employees' last COLA adjustment was in 2013. And it has been 10 years since the last COLA adjusted was made to their salary. So my question is, when will these hard-working employees receive their real salary increase, which is the COLA? It is fair to say that cost of living has increased significantly throughout the island, resulting in the people of St. Martin being severely affected by the island price increase. Has the COLA agreement been approved already by GEBE management and government of St. Martin? Mr. Chairman, Mr. Washington is currently the temporary manager of NVGEBE, meaning he can only deal with urgent matters. Is the good gentleman allowed to commit NVGEBE to any agreement longer than a year? Another question through you, Mr. Speaker. As of yesterday, NVGEBE WIB Gilder account is approximately 2 million guilders and change in the negative. And the WIB dollar account went from 400,000 approximately the negative and now to $1 million and change in negative. Can GEBE carry the payouts of any further payouts at this time, Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman, I was made aware that GEBE had approximately 15 million guilders in bank accounts overall, which does not include the 6 million guilder term deposit at Republic Bank. Is this correct? Mr. Chairman, so in other words, let me break it down. I was informed that GEBE had approximately 1 million guilders at Republic Bank alone, 6 million guilders term deposit. Is this correct? And if this isn't correct, please disclose the accurate amount. Mr. Chairman, I was also informed that NVGEB has approximately 2 to 3 million at RBC and approximately 800,000 at Bank of the Caribbean. Again, if this is correct, can you please disclose the amount? So basically, I'm asking through you, Mr. Chairman, what is the correct amount that our current and only electricity company has in their bank accounts? And are they nearing bankruptcy, Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman, remember there are over 250 employees, times 2, which includes their household, will be at risk if this is the case. Mr. Chairman, I am following the next question by asking you, the finance minister, isn't this alarming for the current government of St. Martin, especially since the company GEBE, whom in the past carried over $100 million in their bank accounts, now only approximately 15 million guilders? Mr. Chairman, through you, how much did the government, along with a temporary manager, pay Daniel, Mr. Timmer, Mr. Sasso to stay home for over a year at the cost of NVGEBE, whose name were cleared in the court of first instance? My reason for this, Mr. Chairman, is simply because, again, we, the public, is paying for all this unnecessary spending. Mr. Chairman, Why I use the word unnecessary spending? Because is it true that in the verdict of Timmer, the judge gave GEBE an option to reinstate Timmer since he was innocent, as there was no irregularities clearing his name to pay him over 600,000 guilders? Is it true that despite his name being cleared, despite GEBE going through financial challenges, management still chose to pay that large sum of money to Timmer? Mr. Chairman, question all this money that is being used to fire all these innocent employees. Can this be labeled once again as management or mismanagement of the company funds? Mr. Chairman, is it correct that all bank accounts NVGB has on St. Martin, such as Republic Bank, which NVGB has 1.5 million guilders, approximately on both guilder and dollar account, Banco de Caribe, approximately 800,000 to 1.5 million guilders exact? Is it correct that our electricity company, bank accounts at various banks, does not hold more than 2 million guilders? Mr. Chairman, is it correct that NVGEBE still owes WIB approximately 8 million guilders in overdraft? And if this is not the case, can you please provide the correct amount because the utility company is in overdraft? Mr. Chairman, to the government of St. Martin, aren't you worried? Isn't this a concern? What is your plan B to gear this company back to normalcy given their financial situation? I thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I will leave it there for now and come back later with some more questions. So I just want to give GEB some chance to get the answers to these questions too as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, MP Emmanuel. Next we have, actually I would like to take a 5-minute adjournment before we continue with MP DeWeaver. Meeting adjourned. Good afternoon once again, members of parliament. We're going to continue in the sequence of the speakers, and next we have MP Ludmila De Weaver.
Good afternoon, everyone. I, perhaps in haste, pressed the button when I was listening to the previous speaker, but I will continue nonetheless because the information that MP Emmanuel was sharing is information that you know when you're on the inside of a company. It's the information that I knew when I was the business analysis advisor of GB. It's the information that I knew when I was the external auditor of GB. So in the same breath that you are saying that persons are innocent, I hope that the ones that share the information are also innocent later on down the line. But that being said, I will support the minister, the member of parliament, because he brings up something that I questioned in the first time that we came to discuss this budget debate. And I specifically asked questions on every single government-related company, and I got wishy-washy fluff answers. So when you put stuff in the budget that says you're going to get money from companies that governments in the past, including this one, had a hand in making sure that they were not going to be a going concern, at the end of the day, I don't know who's going to save the government-owned companies that we interfere with on all levels. I don't know who's going to do it at all, and we're going to have a big surprise come January 11th, depending on who goes back in. And I want people to pay attention to that. So in the same breath, MP Westcott Williams yesterday in the beginning of this budget discussion brought up the harbor. MP Emmanuel brings up something about GEBE. It's the current popular item because you see all of the videos being taped every day there. Every single government-owned company is failing. It is a result of the government that is in place. Thank you.
Thank you, MP De Weaver. I do not see any further speakers signed in at this time. Okay, MP Emmanuel wishes to continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I would like to move over a bit now concerning SZV, seeing that my colleague make mention of all companies. I mean, we shouldn't leave that one out either. Mr. Chairman, but before I do that, I would like to get some information really from the minister responsible for health. Because I am trying to understand exactly how the increase of the old age pension and the AOV and all those things really matter when it comes to the individuals touching something tangible. Mr. Chairman, the increase in the AOV, as stated by the Minister of VSR, was planned to be paid in December of 2023. Instead of the original date of January the 1st, 2023, because only now the governor signed off the bill, so was said. Maybe if the truth was told that on January the 1st, 2024, it was planned that the SZV premiums would be increasing with the SAHA law, we would understand the logic of the lie, Mr. Chairman. Instead, we made the seniors suffer for a whole year. And to add insult to injury, we'll be taxing them heavy as per the law on the lump sum monies owed a year already. Mr. Chairman, telling the seniors the truth would have made them open to the story, also telling the seniors that December 2023 payment is actually the January 24th payment, and thus the tax burden would be less. It's just foolishness and a lie. So let me ask a few questions now regarding to this matter, Mr. Chairman. How much will this increase in AOV premium cost SZV for the year 2024? Has this been budgeted by SZV to cover it without any new income, or was the SAHA premium increased needed? When does the government believe that the SAHA might be ready for implementation? What effect will this have on the normal functioning of SZV regarding the ROV fund? Mr. Chairman, will cross-financing of funds need to continue in 2024 because of not having the SAHA? What effect will the SAHA not becoming law have on the recently published position of the TIAT ministry regarding all bus drivers and taxi drivers that want to have a driver, seeing that requirement states that they must have SZV, while the SZV law doesn't reflect coverage for the bus and taxi drivers presently, and thus they cannot get registered. Mr. Chairman, what will the loss of income be for SZV because of the SAHA not going into effect come January the 1st, 2024? Did the tax law change when it comes to income tax and wage tax for 2023? As the minister stated, he needs to pay the seniors the end of December, so the wage tax for the month and the income tax don't kill them. Can the Minister of Finance explain the change in the law? Or is it fair to state that the minister doesn't understand the tax law? Mr. Chairman, how many seniors will now have to pay wage tax on the lump sum payment of a maximum of over 1.756 guilders, which is 1,176 guilders, that will be added to their January ROV payment? Will the payment be seen as an extraordinary payment and taxed with 47.5%, taking away at least 558 guilders from them, even though their ROV is below minimum wage? Mr. Chairman, is it fair to state that instead of having a bright Christmas, it will be filled with carnival, like parties and songs, but not food on their table with turkey and ham? Mr. Chairman, you see, again, the good thing with Parliament is that when you ask questions, most oftentimes the answers come, but they come chaotic, they come wishy-washy, they come full of fluff. But this is something that the government themselves want passed with haste. They want it passed with haste, this amendment. Mr. Chairman, the good minister doesn't understand that now more than ever the SZV will deplete its funds because there's no increase in premium, as was to be the case with the introduction of the SAHA. He again failed to plan that will only do more harm to the country. And by the way, Minister, stop lying to the seniors that you're paying them the increase in December 2023 is because of taxes. If you pay it in November, December 2023 or January 2024, it will count on your wage tax for that month and on your income tax for the year. Nothing will be different other than they remained with a dark Christmas with not much to eat. Well planned. And this is the reason why I make mention of it, and it's not to really knock down and say that it's something bad. But again, Mr. Chairman, we are making millionaires in this country, much more millions in a short period of time, and we are making those that are dependent on monies that is deserved to them retroactively over a long period of time. Over a long period of time. And that's why I asked the minister the question, what is your opinion about that? What is your opinion on that, Mr. Chairman? And one would say, man, you're always knocking. It's not a matter of knocking. I dare anyone to argue with the facts. When it comes to GEB, I dare them to argue with the facts. In their response, Mr. Chairman, it was, the information is misleading. Okay. Okay. But I can tell you what the financial statements, what the bank accounts is as of today. As of today, Tuesday, I can tell you what it is, Mr. Chairman. And I'm not pulling at no straws. I'm asking the Minister of Finance direct. Doesn't it scare you? Doesn't it scare you? The conditions that the companies are in. My colleague, the Weaver, made mention of it. Tell him, is it a crisis? GB, is it a crisis? Harbor, is it a crisis? Airport, well, you don't even know what crisis that is. Don't even talk about a hospital. Don't even talk about a hospital. And you know what, Mr. Chairman? I think Minister Utley is right. That's why I run. Yeah, I'll take being a coward in that stage. Yeah. I run because of this misery. I saw it coming. And why would I want to be part of that? Mr. Chairman, I thank you very much.
Thank you, MP Emmanuel. Are there any other speakers at this time? I see no need. I did just want to add one question, and that is also related to government-owned companies. I've said in the past, Minister, that I do have a concern about the manner in which we have set up the representation of the government by means of shareholder reps and different entities. What is interesting about that is if we look at certain entities, they do fall directly under the minister. For example, the APS, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the minister is directly seen as the representative for the country in there. The SZV, the minister of VSA. So in some cases, it's so, but for other critical agencies, it is not so. Exactly, the minister mentioned the law. So that goes to my question. Does the government have any plans, or does the government have any position on synchronizing this so that we can have, at the very least, how it was done before by national decree, if not created by means of an ordinance, or if ordinance allows it, by a national decree with general measures, where we outline all of these companies so that similarly that some entities by law, BTP, APS, and so on, have direct representation by the minister with certain limitations, that we can do this. Because I don't believe we're going to continue in a good path, having government-owned entities kind of being this complete arm's length. Now I think it's more like body length from the government, rather than having some sort of middle ground, where we tend to see there are quick fixes to situations that pop up in entities that have direct oversight of a minister compared to those that have this whole general shareholder rep situation going on. I see MP Westcott Williams would like the floor again. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, allow me to just go back to the questions I asked regarding payment of concession by government-owned companies. And the minister indicated that of the amount budgeted, so 1.5 for BTP, 1 million has been received. I believe the amount mentioned received from the harbor was 3.7 million. And then when it comes to GB, the minister mentioned that the GB's payment of the concession fee is usually canceled against the payments that government has to make to GB for electricity, etc. And so asking that, is that going to be done with the remainder of the amount as mentioned in the budget? So is the entire amount of 6.5 million guilders, is that going to be offset rather than canceled against what government owes GEBE? So if I can just have that confirmed in the budget is 6.5 for concession from GB. Is the entire amount going to be offset against what government owes GB? And does the minister have some indication what the total amount is that government owes GEBE for electricity and water? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Westcott Williams. And Minister, just to dovetail off my previous question, why I highlight one entity, which is APS. I don't know if the minister has had the opportunity to look at the performance audit, which was recently published. I think maybe he may need some time, but if you have any general remarks on this, regarding the fact that APS has invested 1.8 million guilders into the SMEA, of which we received 3 advisory opinions on possible investments. However, no actual investments were made. This also was something that popped up in the APS audit. Does the minister have any information he can share as to what's happening with SMEA? Are we happy with the fact that so much investment has gone into this entity, but according to the General Audit Chamber, there's not much coming out of it? Does the minister maybe have a different vision for how APS should go forward with making investments of its fund? In addition to that, I want to bring the minister back to another opportunity I think that was given to APS back in 2015 to collaborate with Royal Caribbean in the construction of a hotel in their land. They have, of course, since moved on and moved to private investment with the water park and a major resort coming there. However, if the minister can please find out from the APS these types of developments that are actually good potential, partnering with a partner like the Royal Caribbean Group for land that is very valuable to develop it. Has the APS re-engaged with Royal Caribbean to see if there's still opportunities to be able to invest in that property or any further, let's say, opportunities with Royal Caribbean? I can recall my first time going to FCC as tourism director. It was a bit of a toxic meeting, very heated, because it was around that time that the Royal Caribbean had a commitment in writing from APS, a development agreement rather, and after the government had fallen, suddenly APS decided, oh, we want to do further due diligence and we're backing off on it. So clearly politics got involved in APS's interest. However, is APS looking at working together with our international partners to do valid investments in St. Martin? So it might be Royal Caribbean, but maybe it is also, it could be airlines, hotels, etc. Minister, you've received the next set of questions from the members of Parliament. I don't know if in the meantime you received the answers from Justice. The minister has indicated he has. So I'll ask you to go into that, and then we'll see how we can continue with the rest of the questions. Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go into the questions from Justice MP Emmanuel. Can the minister give a correlation as to how it is possible that they have to wait over 10 years to receive their retroactive pay? Based on the total estimated financial ramifications of enforcement of the function book and related salary tables, the Minister of Justice revisited the agreement with the CCSU regarding the disbursement term of retroactive payments. A consensus in this manner, the calculated estimates claims are to be payable in consideration of the budget restrictions and maintain these higher salaries and the annual payments, the disbursement against what is owed. Also consider the most beneficial tax manner to the justice workers receiving lump sum payments considering the tax implications that burden the justice workers. Resulting from this honest and open discussion, an addendum to the covenant agreement for the further outlines as follows: the payment disbursement plan. So we have, if the payment is more than 100,000 guilders, it'll be in 10 installments. If the payment is between 70 and 100,000 guilders, 7 installments. If the payments are between 40,000 and 70,000 guilders, 5 installments. Annual installments, sorry. Yes, 5 annual installments. Yes. If the payment is between 15,000 and 40,000 guilders, it'll be made in 3 annual installments. And if the payment is between 5,000 and 15,000 guilders, 2 annual installments, and up to 5,000 guilders, 1 installment.
Minister, if I can ask you if you could just repeat those installments so that we have an opportunity to write it down one more time, please. I noticed we were trying to keep up with you.
10 annual installments for more than 100,000 guilders. 7 annual installments for more than 70, so for between 70 and 100,000 guilders. 5 annual installments for between 40,000 and 70,000 guilders, 3 annual installments for 15,000 to 40,000 guilders, 2 annual installments for 5,000 to 15,000 guilders, 1 installment for 5,000 guilders. A special category will be made for seniors 60 plus, up to the maximum of 4 years.
Presented in Parliament.
Yes, this was already presented, already in Parliament.
That's why I wanted to write it down to compare it to what was presented. So just note that this was the same figures that were presented by the Minister of Justice before. Continue, Minister.
Okay. The next question, if that's the case, where in the budget amendment, the reserve funds that are stipulated in the amendment in relation to 2023 payments to the justice workers are reflected under the retroactive allocating budget post 41039, as this is an account that is debited in such salary-related payments. For instance, 5201-41039 for CAPSM. The one-off cost for the retroactive payment of the civil servants, both inactive and active as a result of the retroactive payment of the function book and salary tables of the 10th of October up to 2023, are estimated at 44.5 million guilders. This is a brutal cost to the employer, accounted for the social and pension premiums, and this figure is then to be captured in a multi-annual budgeting approach. Important to note that the full financial implications become definitive only upon the completion of this process, and the final picture per individual employee is recomputed based on the placement ratified in the decree. Per the revised covenant agreement, the disbursement of the retroactive sum is to be handled with annual payments based on the category of the individual employee, as explained previously. The estimated budget reservation is anticipated to be about 4 to 6 million guilders per year as of 2024. That further to the 2023 budget has reserved amount of 3.4 million guilders, which will be used towards the plan phase approach of the placement process. Phase 1 is placement of the active personnel with no objection as of 1st of January 2023. This placement is to be done in batches and ratified in national decree. Next question. When will this happen? Once the budget amendment is passed. The process is a legislative one. First, the budget amendment 2023 has to be passed, adopting the need amendments in relation to the debt tally. Then the governor has to sign the package after this amendment 2023 has been passed. Then the process of placement and the individual LBAs that follows of the placement process can continue, starting with phase 1 as indicated. Then the process, and then only then actionable payments can commence from the individual placement national degrees that are in a irrevocable state with no objections. This will continue in a structured approach and will be handled in batches that result in the active justice personnel being formally placed in their correct positions and salaries, retroactive to the 1st of January 2023. Can the minister explain or finally set the record straight when it comes to the reimbursement? All payments that have been made to the justice personnel resulting from the MOU 2019 entered into by the former Minister of Finance, Perry Halins, was made payable to the justice personnel as a salary advance towards their individual corrections. Noting that to date, a total of 3.25 million in net has been disbursed in advance payments towards this debt, resulting in a reduced estimated balance owed. All wages that have been received, including any advance payments, are to be reconciled within the context of the retroactive calculation of the individual employee in connection with their national decree. The final calculation can only be determined after their decree is in an irrevocable state. Simply put, if you are owed 100 brutto before reduction of the social pension premiums and base tax and received 10, then your balance owed will be reduced with what you have received in net. This has been explained to all employees who have received their salary advances against this debt owed. Mr. Chairman, those were the questions received and answers received by the Ministry of Justice.
Okay, thank you. I know a lot of those questions included facts and figures. We can expect those to be provided in writing once we get the final report of the Central Committee. I see MP Westcott Williams has a few more questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I want to continue with this matter of payment to the justice workers. As the minister responded to my question yesterday regarding the 3.2 million guilders, that if this budget is passed and ratified, would pertain to the payment to justice workers for the year 2023. Am I to understand that for that payment, so for the 3.2 million guilders in total, that individual decrees, individual LBAs still have to be made up? So concretely, once this budget is passed and ratified, will the amount owed to justice workers for 2023 be paid out? Secondly, when we talk about LBAs and national decrees for the individual justice workers, were not those the same decrees that should have been made and sent to the governor when this entire matter was delayed because the governor, again from media reports, did not receive the individual amounts due to justice personnel? So how many more individual LBAs, individual national decrees are supposed to be made for every justice worker? So again, very concretely, when will the 2023, so what we are approving now, when will that payment, when can that payment be made to justice workers? One, I'm understanding that going forward, it's going to require an amount of approximately 4 million guilders annually to pay up the justice workers, to pay the justice workers. And coming to a question that was asked by a colleague, so the amount that needs to be, let me give a scenario. Someone entitled to 100,000 guilders payout. So that would mean that person would get this payout, this retroactive, over a period of 10 years, 10 annual installments. Would that be before the advance payment is reduced or after? So do we look at the total amount that the person is entitled to, decide it is 10 years while you have a deduction of an advance? Or is it 100,000 taken off what was received and then decide how many installments it will be paid in? I need to listen carefully to the minister's response regarding this matter and then see if I need any further clarification. But if the minister can attempt, and I say attempt because the minister is given what he received from the Ministry of Justice, so if the minister can explain it. And I want to get to a clear understanding if this budget that entails a total of 3.2 million guilders for retroactive to justice workers, if it is ratified, does the minister think that this payment can still take place in the month of December 2023? Let me be very specific and hear the answer to that. And Mr. Chairman, if those matters can be clarified, I would be thankful. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Westcott Williams. Minister, while having heard your answer earlier, I wanted to have a follow-up question with you regarding the question I posed about Revolut. I know you mentioned that you are looking into that specific case. I want to go a little more generally on this. The reason why is, like I said, yesterday, hearing the disappointment at the fact that a lot of this pushback for services like Revolut is coming from our so-called local commercial banks, it prompted for me to look to see if legislatively there is anything going on wrong here. And it's interesting because when we look at the legislation on the oversight of banking and credit sector, it states in Article 2, It is prohibited for anyone to conduct the business of a credit institution in St. Martin without prior authorization from the bank. Okay. This same wording is used, for example, for someone who would like to open a store. So in the business license ordinance, it is prohibited to have a shop selling goods in St. Martin without prior authorization from the Ministry of TIA. Similar language. But people in St. Martin can make use of online services like Amazon out of St. Martin and import products. Online now, what we have also is people for the desperate need of circumventing, well, not circumventing, but not being able to use the local non-existing e-commerce system that the banks offer, are now trying to use these online services. When I looked at it and discussed it with a couple of our legal minds, that does not fall within the scope of this law. So in other words, just like how Amazon doesn't need a license, looking at the wording of the law in order to sell products to people in St. Martin, I don't believe, and I would like you to maybe provide that answer. If it might take some time because you have to interact with the central bank on it. And if I can get that by the time for the public meeting, that's fine. But we have to come to a decision and a reaction of the fact that our law, our central banking law, dates back to December 1994. That Article 2 has never been updated since and has been made in the spirit that if you want to set up a bank in St. Martin, you have to have a license. I don't believe that Revolut or other online services should require such a license until, like I mentioned yesterday, the Payment Services Act law, which the central bank has told us about for a very long time, but hasn't completed that as yet. Maybe then new legislation where they would fall into both online and offline payment services, a welcome law, I think. Then they can simply sign up for that and have it there. But I would like some clarity on this situation, that we are not seeing online banking services as a bank being set up in St. Martin. That is the choice of local citizens, the same way they might go online to buy a product. I think it's the same right they should have to go online and use these critical services that our local banks refuse to offer to them. So if the minister can please get some more information on that, and then we can address it further in the public meeting. Members of Parliament, I see no further need for questions, but I will consult with the minister on the way forward for this meeting, so I'll adjourn for 2 minutes. Good afternoon, members of Parliament, Minister. After consulting with the Minister, we have decided that the Minister would need at least 2 hours to answer or to receive questions from the various ministries over the next 2 hours. So we receive answers from the various ministries at least 2 hours. At that point, when the Minister returns at 3 p.m., he will begin to answer the questions that have been received up to that point. In discussion with the members of Parliament, it was also agreed the Minister will make the best effort to answer as many as possible, and any others that would not have been available at that time, we will handle those. Those answers will be provided within the report of the Central Committee, further to the report from the Central Committee. So those will, in other words, be provided in writing. So we will return at 3 p.m. The Minister of Finance will answer on behalf of the government the various questions that are possible, after which we will adjourn or actually close that meeting pending the answers being given in writing. Agreed? Yes? Thank you. So with that, we adjourn this meeting until 3 p.m.